Well, this is different. You are probably experiencing, not used to seeing us sit like this, and I'm with Andrew Kauffman.
Hey.
Which is funny. You're usually behind the scenes.
I am,
handling
and I enjoy that.
all of this. You're like, I don't like being up here in the front.
I usually push the button over
there. And just go like,
yeah.
You're live. Well, I actually wanted to have you here for a few different reasons. Number one, big year of tons of change. Tons of new things, and gosh, we have really pushed the bar forward. But a year ago we were doing a podcast. We were doing the NP Worship podcast with you and Kyle and myself. Yeah. You were hosting that, and you were a much better host.
No.
So.
Don't put that on me. That was fun though. It was fun.
That was fun. In fact, I put a link in there if anyone wants to listen back to any of those things. But so the last one we did was May 28th. And we were talking a lot about a
lot has happened.
Well, it's
in that last year.
It makes me laugh because
the
funny thing is we were talking about like the new normal and opening up, which is kind of funny because May we were so far from.
We're like it's going to happen any week.
No, for any minute now, and so I listened back to us doing that, and so I was going to have the two of you guys on. Kyle wasn't able to make it. That's all right.
We'll get him next time.
But we'll
bring him back.
Yeah.
Kyle, you have not escaped this.
You have not made it out of the crosshairs. But I thought it'd be kind of good for us to talk about. There's been a lot of changes. I mean, we're in a broadcast space.
Yeah, we're in a new space, if you can tell.
Yeah, this is here we go. Yeah, and it's new. This is basically a new look for Midweek Live. But on top of it, there's just been changes across the board. There's been changes in our worship center, our online presence, all that stuff. And really you are a driving force behind all of that change.
I don't know about a driving force, but I certainly help make it happen.
You are certainly pushing with the most.
I do love change. I do.
Yeah. You're an 8 on the Enneagram.
I am an Enneagram 8, I think. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I definitely am much more comfortable in change than I am in normal.
Yeah.
Which probably freaks some people out. Like Kyle.
Because he's a big planner.
Yeah, but I really like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I
like
like
change.
Of reasons. I like trying things just to see how they go and work and stuff. So I think that's pretty helpful.
I'm not saying I'd love a pandemic every year, but I do like change.
Well, I was going to say you're about to experience quite a bit of change. You'll become a family of 4.
We are.
In
very
a month
soon.
or something?
We're down to 6 Sundays.
Oh my God. Not that you're counting
I count
or anything.
in Sundays. Yeah.
You count by Sundays.
We're down to about 6 Sundays, which is wild. Yeah. We're going from 1 2-year-old daughter to a little son.
A son.
Yeah, a little boy.
I'm so excited.
We're very excited.
Oh,
and it's coming super soon. I'm honestly really kind of ready for it.
Yeah.
I don't know if Steph is.
Well, I know she probably is. I mean, as far as comfort level, she's probably ready. But
it's at that point. But I'm really excited.
Yeah.
It is going to be different.
It is. It will. You'll be slowed down quite a bit trying to maneuver.
Yeah, and those things never come. Nothing ever comes at the perfect time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like summer in church ministry. If anyone's in church, I mean, everyone knows that.
Oh yeah.
Summer in general is just kind of crazy.
Oh yeah.
Vacations and trips and ministry stuff, and
yeah.
so having a baby, I'm kind of looking forward to it for that because I get an excuse to just be like, all right, I'm gonna be gone for a while. See you guys later.
Can't be there.
I'm gonna be home holding the baby.
Do you guys have a name picked out?
We do. We're gonna be naming him Oliver.
Oh.
Yeah, little baby Oliver.
Oh, family name or anything like that? Just
no.
both like Oliver?
We just love it.
Oh.
Yeah. It's kind of like Zoe. It just kind of happened, and then
love Zoe.
we love little Zoe too.
Zoe is the best. We're going to have to post some pictures of her because she's just adorable. Okay.
It's been a blast, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. Before we get into some of the questions, I kind of reconfigured some of the questions you asked us in that podcast almost a year ago because, we kind of needed to reconstruct that. But before I do that, one of the things that I really loved about our NP music, NP worship ministry is kind of the farm system that is
development.
Development.
And growing people,
exactly. So who has made the biggest impact on you? And you look back on just your life in general and then kind of where you're at right now.
I know. Prep me with this one.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, there's definitely a few people. I think when it comes to what I do day in and day out, working here and even in life with family and stuff, definitely my former boss.
Yeah.
His name is Josh. Yeah, I learned a ton from just how he's a technical audio guy. He's a mixer. He's a musician.
Yeah.
So all those things I like, but he's just gets people really well. So he just treats people well. He understands, like he's very empathetic.
Yeah, because I think if you work in the church environment, I would say, and this is maybe not the best thing to say, but a lot of our technical directors, a lot of our production directors tend to be a little bit more introverted, probably a little bit more like thinking through things
technical
and not extremely like personal or really, you know.
Yeah, I think that's true.
That's not the case with you, and I'm assuming that has a lot to do with it.
Because you don't get anything. No, I mean, I think that's true. I mean, I've grown up. I didn't ever plan on doing this with my life.
Yeah.
Honestly, didn't know what I was going to do with my life. But yeah, I think I just grew up with like parents and a family that were like, treat people how you want to be treated, and like kindness, and people are more important than money and things. And so that's definitely made its way into like how I work too.
Yeah.
And I don't know how normal it is. I for like a production director to be people friend, like, you know, people first.
Yeah.
I hope it's I hope it becomes more of the normal.
Yeah.
Because I think it's really important.
Well, I don't feel like we would have taken as much ground as we have this year without that kind of a personality. You bring such a great, your personality in a room when we're dreaming and thinking with concepts and stuff. What I love is you allow all the dreaming to happen. Oftentimes we get limited by that. Well, we really can't do that. And I love you always like, well, we can do anything.
Yeah.
So,
my favorite line.
Right. We
but
can
it
do
also is a
anything,
curse.
but it might cost us some money.
Yeah, I just think I think like, to me, it comes down honestly to like God is not a limited God. He's an infinite God. And so to me, to be someone who's like, I work in church ministry and like it's faith first, and then to be like, but I just limit everything, just feels like it doesn't connect.
Yeah.
To where like there are limits.
Yeah.
And we've learned that this year more than any other year.
Gosh,
there are
yes.
limits. But yeah, to me, to like take the stance of let's hear it out and then honestly, my thing and I learned it from Josh, was like, let the leader decide.
Yeah.
I have leaders. So
Yeah.
when an idea comes up, it's not my job to tell them what they should do. It's my job to think through how we could do it and then let them decide if it's worth it or not.
Right. You're big. You love to listen. You actually said this the other day. You really listen to like podcasts almost every single day.
I listen to a podcast every day.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite ones?
I mean, they're super cliche, but like I love the Mix You podcast. If you're in church production or even creative anything, I think it's brilliant and funny. So I listen to a lot of Mix You. I listen to some like nerdier ones too, like Sound Design Live is a one I listen to that's like a sound designer sort of. Very technical, but still fun.
Yeah.
I listen to some like dad podcasts.
Oh.
So there's one called Hey Dad that's really funny. It's a bunch of just like friends and brothers that are dads that talk about dad stuff. So that's
like,
fun.
Give me an example of what you're talking about. Just like awkward situations with your kids.
Yeah,
or
like what vacation was like, or things that like one of them was like talking about how like when they were growing up, they had this rule with their dad, which I'm gonna totally steal. I think is like they'd get one vacation swear. And they're believers too. But from their dad, every vacation, it'd be like, you get one vacation swear. So at some point, you can choose a word and use it.
Oh, my gosh.
So he did this with his kid. I think it was actually his kid was like sick and not feeling well. And they were out of medicine. So he was trying to think of something for him to feel good.
Yeah.
So he's like, how about if you take this medicine,
yeah,
you can have one swear.
Yeah.
So he took it in the bathroom. And then you got to listen to it because it's hilarious. But he like basically says, all right, go ahead, like say the swear. And then the kid says like a really intense swear word.
Yes. Oh.
That the father was not expecting.
Oh, gosh.
So he said
Here,
like,
I was thinking you were going to say
he just
something.
was so
Yeah.
surprised
Oh, my gosh.
that his kid even knew that
Oh,
word.
yeah.
He expected him to say like
shoot,
booty,
yeah.
or like something that's like kids think is a bad word. Sorry, all you kids. But he said a much worse word. So it's just stuff like that. That's like their thing is like dads aren't represented very well in culture.
That's so true.
So they were like, we just want to show people what being a dad's really like and what it can be like. So it's honestly really fun too.
That's great.
And then I listen to some with my wife when we're in the car and stuff, and those ones are more like girly podcasts. So I'm not gonna say those ones out loud. But yeah, we listen to some
you'll
other normal
you'll
ones
lose your
too.
man card.
Well, no, I just don't want people stealing my podcast.
There you go.
But I do love them. I love that like
Yeah.
this kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
hearing people talk and process
Yes.
and think. So.
I feel like we're in a unique I don't want to call it a season because I don't know that it's a season, but it's the movement of like people really curious about other people. Like so one of the things that just is so weird to me, and it's only weird just because I'm not this age. I'm not their age. My guys are 22 and 18, I think. Gosh, I should know that. I should know that very easily.
Yeah,
but
they're in their teens.
Something like that. Well, what's interesting is years ago, I find out that they're watching YouTube videos of like people playing video games. I'm like, you have that video game, and they're like, yeah, but
It's different.
It's and so I think there's a curiosity, and there's just a different culture. There's a culture change happening.
Mm-hmm.
That I think is pretty interesting. People just really want to live or experience what other people experience.
Yeah,
I guess.
And it's weird in some ways, like the unboxing things. I think they're super weird.
Yeah.
Like,
but I'll guarantee
I really want
Zoe,
this,
when she's old enough,
kids,
she's gonna love
it. Like watching someone unbox the toy you wish you had.
Yeah,
I find really
and
interesting.
then playing with it.
Yeah, like I wish I had that toy. I'm just gonna watch someone else play with it.
Yeah,
feels
that
weird,
right? It's backwards, kind of for us, backwards thinking. Or like, well, just
and I
like,
there's some. I think there's something really cool about it.
Yeah,
the way the technology is that we can do this kind of thing.
Yeah.
There are definitely some like scary, I think, darker sides to it, or shadows. Like
for sure.
Even just the like, you can really think you're connected to people, but you're not.
Yeah.
And like,
yeah,
I think people talk about it like you think you're in community, but you're actually just connected. Like the online, you can connect, but you're not really. It's not the same without, at least easily.
Yeah.
And so people think they are.
Yeah.
But maybe they really aren't.
Yeah.
And I think that's more when you're on social media, but you kind of just like scroll or cruise through, but you're not actually showing yourself at all.
We talked about that. It might have even been this podcast,
maybe,
the May 28th one that I was talking about, where it's like part of what we should be doing is choosing to engage.
Yeah.
So you can absolutely just consume. You can literally just be a consumer. But the truth of the matter is, we have lots of people even in churches that came and just consumed and still didn't feel challenged to actually go deeper in relationship with others and relationship with the Lord. So maybe just our metrics on how we figure that out is just needing to be adjusted.
Yeah,
and
I think it certainly is.
Yeah. We're in a new era for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so having had someone that poured into you, how do you use that type of leadership model in what you're doing like now?
Oh man, we're kind of in a season. I think when it comes to NP worship, at least our department and what we do at North Point. North Point as a church is all about one thing. Seeing non-church goers become fully developing followers of Jesus through the environments we create. And our job is kind of like the environment part.
Yes.
So within our teams, we've kind of shifted really hard and like made really conscious decisions to say, we may feel like it may be tempting to think we're a large church and we'll just, do large church things. But we've kind of shifted our brains to be like, we need to think small. So like phone calls and text messages rather than mass emails.
Yes.
And having people come down one-on-one to train rather than watch this video, trying to think like, how do we do things in a way that's just more personal,
intentionally,
and small. It's a small church, and not that small or big churches are bad or good,
right?
But just I think there's a trap in big system and big thing, and it's you have 100 volunteers, which we don't. But you look at a church like North Point and you think, it's so easy for them,
right?
And I think we can even get that in our own head,
right?
But that's one thing I think with what kind of Josh with me as a mentor was it was just what we did. Like we'd go out to lunch and he'd ask me questions about he'd have a decision to make and he'd ask me what I thought. And, so, I mean, for me personally, it's trying to do that with even my team here and our team member volunteers. And like, I think a practical thing, like there's no sacred space for us in the sense of, sorry, you're a volunteer, you're not allowed in here. Like that's just not a thing for us.
Right.
So if someone comes and shows up and says like, hey, I'm curious how you guys do whatever. Yeah. It's always we'll show you what we do.
Let's go over there and look at it. Yeah.
It's a Sunday morning and people are like, oh, can I go into the green room? Of course you can.
Yeah.
Like we don't have any spaces where it's like, sorry, you have to be staffed to be here.
Right. Right.
And part of that is, I think, because of that. Like we don't want to be a place we want to be a place where you can grow into anything.
Yes.
And so if that's where that's what you're wired for or that's what you're interested in.
Well, even like team nights. So you guys have like a team ongoing training Thursday nights or something like that, right? That's like open to anybody.
And that was born out of that. Like how do we always have said, I've been here for a few years and we've always said we're really about training people.
Right.
But when push comes to shove, it was like, but how are we doing that?
Right.
Are we actually training people or do we just want to be training people? So for us, it was like,
wish list.
okay, we need to make sure we're doing this. So we've started every Thursday night at 6:00. It's every week. There's something going on, and for us, it's like, how are we training people in honestly anything art related?
Right.
So we've done all kinds of things. Like this week, we're doing a studio training. Actually, we're going to be talking about how to do some of this stuff and how to play in a smaller band.
Yeah.
Next week, we're going to be doing like how to solder cables and how to tune up a guitar. You know, like practical things.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's creating a space that anyone can come to.
Right.
In any level of experience, any level of interest. Maybe you're just like bored at home. Great.
Yeah.
Or you're a professional audio engineer. Awesome.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
we can learn from you and you can learn from us.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's kind of been a putting our money where our mouth is sort of situation. Like we say we're about training, so let's actually train.
Do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Which has been awesome. I mean, we've been doing it maybe coming on 2 months ish. Something like that, 8 or 10 weeks. And it's been really cool to see who comes out and even to see some people growing already, trying things they never have.
Right.
So yeah, it's been
really
a blast.
Awesome. Okay, so we would probably look at 2020 and go, a lot of lessons learned. What are some of your top lessons learned in 2020?
Oh man, personally, I think one of my biggest lessons I've learned, and I've always known this, I think, but like I'm ridiculously in charge of my own life, in the sense of like you think that a global pandemic that's shelter in place would teach you how to rest because it forced you to do it, but I found over the last year it didn't, and I still have a hard time like unplugging and resting and being present at home, and you know these things that it's like, well, it was a pandemic, you had to.
Yeah.
Well, not.
But
really.
you actually did like a lot of remodeling of your house. Like,
well, we've done a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But, and so that's been a lesson I think I've learned. I think I've grown a lot in it. But yeah, like even a shelter in place won't teach you how to rest because you'll just be cooped up and not resting.
So if you have the excuse of like life is too busy and I really just can't like stop doing it all.
Yeah.
We had like that was not an excuse in 2020.
And before 2020, it was easy to blame like work and you know like, well, I got to go to work or I got to blah blah blah.
Right.
And in a lot of ways, like my job here didn't fully slow down.
Yeah.
But it did. There were times where it was like we're at home for the week.
Yeah.
Especially at the beginning for a while, for
Yeah.
a long while. It was like working from home.
Yeah.
And you would think, like that would force you to, but I've just realized you do have to make decisions for yourself. And even Ronnie at our all staff was talking about like, you know, how your thought life determines your life.
100%.
And so, for me, it's been like, a reminder, you still have to decide those things. Life's not going to choose. Life's not going to choose the Jesus way for you, for sure. Nor is it even going to choose a good way often. It'll just kind of, you'll just be tossed into whatever's happening.
Yeah.
So that's one lesson I've definitely learned.
Yeah.
I think along with that, the other one would be that who you're becoming, like who I'm becoming, is way more important than where I've arrived or like where I've gotten to or what I've accomplished.
Is that just staying hungry? Is that just like another way of just staying like hungry and staying wanting to learn
I think
and
so.
grow?
And I think it's just like a realization or like a learning that like, and I think especially in like faith that God just cares way more about who you are and who you're growing into as a person than he does about like how accomplished you are and how much stuff you've done. Because I think in a year like we've had where like in a lot of ways it's just been like, sorry, you can't do any of that. Like all of our normal things you can't do anymore.
Yeah.
At least, I mean, it changed everything right away. I think for someone, and I kind of feel that, for someone that's a very like much a task doer and a get things done and a make things happen kind of person, it was, it's been a learning of like, God cares way more just like who I am. So I can
than what you're doing.
I can be getting a lot of things done, but if I'm becoming a worse person, like if I'm becoming a jerk at home, or if I'm becoming like a really non-communicative boss, like it doesn't really matter how many things you're doing, because at the end of the day, you're becoming a worse human being.
You're missing the people aspect of, because that's like the one thing we were missing, right? Is like actually being able to engage in like face to face with people. We didn't get a lot of interaction aside from your family. And see, I was like, ooh, I really love having like my family extra close. And I don't know. I think I think over time, I think I started off as an extrovert, and as I've gotten older, I've become more introverted. I don't know if that's just like a normal. I don't know if that's a normal progression, but whatever. That's
I'm not
kind of
smart
what it
enough
turned
to
into.
know that.
I was definitely like
Yeah.
a talk to anybody in line, talk to anybody about anything when I was younger. And as I've gotten older, I've noticed that is energy that I have to regain somewhere else, and I do that well with my family, at home,
Totally.
and love like good deep conversations, and also just like rest and stuff. So
Yeah. And I think part of that thing is like, if who you're becoming is more important than what you're doing, a year like 2020 won't ruin you.
yeah,
But if you're someone who's like really, if you're like success and your like feeling of I'm doing good comes from what you're doing, a year like 2020 does ruin you, because
Yeah.
I can't do any of the things, and I have to
Right.
be at home, and I can't be
Right.
productive, and I
Right.
can't go to the coffee shop on Fridays, and
right,
all these things that if that's really what's defining you,
yeah.
and I think all of us have those areas.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, just realizing like that is way more important. And that doesn't mean I don't care about making things happen, because I
Right.
do love progress
Right.
and accomplishing things.
yeah.
But
Checking things off
not
the
at the sake of that. Yeah. So I think that's true. I think a lot of people felt that a lot at the beginning, was like, how am I going to know if I'm doing well? Because
Yeah.
I can't do any of the normal, like all of my normal metrics are gone.
Yeah.
Like my
Absolutely.
work progress and my
Yeah.
hangouts with friends on Friday. Like all
Right.
these things are gone. So how do I know if I'm like even
Right.
doing
Moving
well?
forward at all.
Yep.
I mean, like time is passing, but am I actually moving forward?
Yep.
So pluses and minuses of the new normal. I personally, I'm kind of cringy even saying the new normal. I'm so done with hearing new normal. This is just where we're at.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
pluses and minuses to where we're at.
I've heard people say like there was the pandemic world and now there's the endemic world. And I don't know if that's true, but it is that sense of like there isn't a normal. I don't think there will. I think the new normal is that we don't really know what next
Right.
year is going to be like.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a bad thing. I also don't think that's new. I think it's just new to us.
Yeah, I think,
least new to me.
I think for many people, have always held on to this. Like you always knew how your work week was going to look. I mean, for the most part, right?
And talk about church. It's like Easter, Christmas.
Oh,
You can predict the entire year
Yeah.
almost.
Yeah.
How will Easter be and how will Christmas
Oh
be?
yeah, the rhythms and
Yeah.
some are extreme. Like there's certain things that just happen, and you just look. You're putting energy towards the next thing,
Yep.
and when that next thing either doesn't happen or doesn't look anything like you were expecting, it definitely feels a little out of control. I think
yeah.
we think we have more control over things than we do. That's for
Yeah.
me leaving 2020. That's like we think we have more
Totally.
control than we ever
And
really do.
I mean, it is easier to do the same thing.
yeah,
It's always easier, I think,
Yeah.
to do the same
'Cause it's
thing than to
routine.
do a new thing.
yeah,
And it's not bad
Yeah.
necessarily,
yeah,
but it is easier. So I
Yeah.
think if that's now that we're forced into it, now it's hard. It's been hard.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, pluses, minuses of kind of where we're at. I think a plus for me at least is I love that like reset, reevaluate.
Yeah.
Are we actually on track?
Yeah.
Sort of thing. So I think
Yeah.
one of the pluses for the time has been for us, even as a church and as a worship part of the church,
Yeah.
to be like, let's reevaluate. We have to. So let's
Mm-hmm.
sit down and talk about what we can do, what we should do. And even from the beginning, thinking long term, like we've known it's not going to go back. So how do we like just keep moving, and how do we do what we know we're supposed to do
right,
in whatever normal comes?
Right.
Which I think is cool, because we've gone from, we're not like thinking events and thinking like, let's
Right.
make a great Easter. It's become like,
Right.
how do we help our people
Right.
grow? Or how do we help create artists in the church? Or how do
Right.
we make sure our people grow year over year in their own skill?
Mm-hmm.
Or even like, how do we, rather than saying like, let's have an awesome Easter weekend, it's how do we make sure that we have space on Easter for people to offer what they have? So there's subtle differences, but I think like that reset thing is a huge plus to me.
mm-hmm.
Honestly, the plus of there is no more normal is kind of a plus to me,
yeah.
because I just love that.
You said you like change.
I love
and
change.
so that would
Like I grew up as a kid like moving my furniture every month in my bedroom.
every month.
Like probably.
Yeah, I probably did
Because
it
you
pretty
just get
often.
bored of it.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
I'm going to change my bed.
Yeah.
Why? I don't know.
don't
Just
know.
because I'm bored. But I mean, yeah.
Just 'cause
So,
I'm bored.
so like for us, it is a new one. Like online, online is not new, but the way we do online is new for us.
Oh, yeah.
And to probably most churches, like most I know from firsthand,
Yeah,
so many people are like thrown into this new world.
Oh, yeah.
So like online, but even when you think like how we shop in life, like how you go to a grocery store is different now than it was.
I did Instacart.
Yeah.
Like had it arrive at my door.
Yep.
I didn't even
Coffee
have to-
shops.
yeah.
Like curbside
I haven't
things.
walked up to a cash register at
crazy.
Starbucks in over a year. I've just ordered it.
It's
and walked
wild
in and
how
grabbed
it is a different world, and
Huh.
I think some things will come back, but I think
Yeah.
a lot of companies are like learning,
Yeah,
and a lot of the places we go are learning.
Yeah.
There's actually a different and maybe better way
yeah,
to do this.
right. Or
I
at
don't know
least
if it's better for
or at
us,
least
but-
another way to do it
Yeah.
that's not necessarily less than.
Or how do we do both?
Right.
Or how do we do? Yeah. How do
Right.
we keep doing that thing without? I mean, even like practically how you like greet someone when you run into them. Now you have to do the awkward like.
Are we?
Can I shake
are
your
we
hand?
shaking? Am I?
Do I need to stand
Yeah.
back?
Am I giving you an elbow?
Do I need to wear a mask? Like all these things that you just
You never even thought
even
about before.
yeah even thinking of my daughter, like she's now so used to masks.
Wow. Yeah.
Which-
you think about that more than half her life, huh?
Yeah, I mean she's 2. Yeah, she spent the whole last year ish and
Yeah.
more with everyone wearing masks.
Yeah.
So that now like, Daddy, where's your mask? Like, where's your mask? Or like it's just a normal thing.
Yeah.
If you don't have a mask on, it's kind of like, I think you're missing something. And it kind of freaked her out at first, I think, running into people and being like, why is your face covered? But now it's
Yes.
just normal.
Yeah.
So it's not, again, I don't think it's bad or good.
Right.
It's just different.
It's just different. Yeah.
Minus is, I think the same kind of minus is that there is no normal. So it's a plus for me. It's also a minus, I think, and I think it's a minus for a lot of people that really are, like we talked about, like stability focused.
Yes.
And I feel that too in
Yeah.
in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Of like, I mean, we've been super blessed to even be able to keep working and to be able, and a lot
Oh,
of people
gosh, yes.
lost their jobs and
Yes.
have had to move into industries they never planned. Like
Right.
they're now doing whatever they have to survive, to make money
Mm-hmm.
for their family. So I think that's been a huge blessing. But that instability, I think, is, if it's a guiding value, this new normal is a huge minus,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
this could happen again next year.
Yeah.
And honestly, a lot of the experts think it's gonna happen more often.
Yeah.
Kind of these shutdowns
Wouldn't
and shelter
be-
in places
Yeah.
and things.
Wouldn't be surprising. I mean,
Yeah.
it definitely will not impact, I think, the same way.
And I think it does change. I think it gives us a really cool opportunity to change how we do church,
Yeah.
in a way that, won't be like shut down.
Right.
First of all, we were never shut
Yeah.
down.
And I was
But
we never
the church never shut down.
Never.
Ours or any church never
Yeah.
really shut down. But I think, in that sense, like, I think it's going to be cool to see. But it is a minus of like
Yeah.
the stability, like we said, knowing knowing what every Easter we always do this. Well, not anymore.
Yeah, you can
Like,
count on something.
Who knows?
There's certain things you can count
Yeah.
on, and that's just one
So
of
that's
the
been
things.
that's a challenge, I
Yeah.
think.
Okay, so what's it been like with this? One of the questions you asked in that podcast. What
yeah.
you said? What's it going to be like to have people in the room again? So now we have people in the room again. What is it? Everything you expected it to be? Why? Why not?
Man, I don't have
You
I
don't-
don't
you
have
don't
a
have-
really good answer because of how crazy it's been just for our teams to even just make
Yes.
Sundays happen.
Oh,
to be
gosh,
honest,
yes.
because we've now kept, for those that don't know, we have an outdoor venue, we have
Yep.
an indoor venue, and we have
Yes.
our online venue.
Yes.
All those places you can experience the same service, really, tweaked for you,
Yes.
depending on where you're at.
Yep.
So doing that has made it. I mean, I don't know that I have a good answer because of that. I
Yeah.
think it's completely different than I thought in that sense.
Yeah.
I don't know that I thought it would just be like the same but better.
Right.
But I think like one thing I've felt is it feels like everyone's kind of on the same page in the sense of like we all are coming to church sort of uneasy and sort of like I'm excited to be back, super excited to be back in person.
There's a timidity.
but also nervous.
There's a timidity to it.
yeah, and unsure
Yeah.
of what it's gonna be like
Yeah.
and like what's gonna be good and
Yeah.
safe and not.
Yeah.
So I think that in kind of a good way has been sort of like, hey, we're all together.
Yeah, I think we expected like this big like exhale of relief, and everybody get to just like be back, and we get to just do
And then
this
it would be
thing, and,
sudden.
right? And it would be like turning on a switch.
Yep. Last week
and
masks,
it hasn't.
this
yeah.
week normal.
and
Yeah.
that's not been. It's been such a
Yeah,
slow,
been a slow drip.
a slow drip, and it's such a slow turn that, and again, capacity, all those different things, different options and stuff. Where you're at
Yeah.
will also depend on what your experience is,
Yeah.
where
And-
you're watching
yeah.
or where you're in, what you're experiencing. Because, you could be inside this worship center, but we're doing announcements, out on the pad, and it's just, it's a different,
and
it's different.
and the COVID stuff of like how it's affected childcare and across
Right.
the
Oh,
state
yeah.
and country, not just
Oh,
us.
yeah.
That's been I didn't expect that either. I kind of hadn't
Yes.
thought about well, once we're open, everyone can just come. But it's like,
Right.
well, actually,
It's a slow rollout.
who watches kids? And
Yes.
and all our volunteers have gotten used to, like,
Yeah.
I think that thing, I feel that too of,
Yes.
I think if you're at home watching church, that's like a really nice thing.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, getting back to like, and not even getting back to choosing again, like, how do I want to engage church and how do I want to
Right.
serve and how do I want to be a part?
Right.
That's been different than I thought it would be. I kind of assumed everyone would just be like, I'll just go back to wherever I was before.
Right.
But I think a lot of people, and it's been good, have been able to like learn more about themselves even and
Yeah.
realize, oh, maybe I was serving in a place that wasn't great for me, or
Right.
maybe I was not serving as enough, or serving like
Or
giving
not serving,
too much.
Yeah, not serving
or,
for the right reasons, maybe,
Yeah.
or worn out.
Yeah, so I think people have been able to evaluate for themselves, which
Yeah.
is good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a challenge for us of just like, in a lot of ways as a church, we're doing so much more to serve our
Yeah.
community, to serve our city,
Right.
to reach our community, but trying to do it in ways that isn't like just using people either.
Right.
So yeah, we just had to get creative and try new things and be okay with people learning and being in process. Like we're not looking for like you to be perfect before you can serve. We're kind of
Yeah.
like wanting to train you.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of those things, that's been different
Yeah.
than I thought. The experience of I don't know. I don't know what I think. I'm not even sure what the experience of the room is at this point. If you come on a Sunday and go inside, and maybe it's too soon to tell. I'm not
Yeah.
sure. I think
Yeah.
people are really excited to be able to come somewhere
have the
and to
option.
do church.
Yes.
In that sense.
Yes.
Yeah, I think people have missed that, and that
Yes.
shows.
Yes.
That people have come and they're excited
Yeah.
to be here,
Right.
which is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think? I mean, you've probably been a part of stuff too.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Is it
well,
different?
clearly for me, I did not expect for my role to be what it is. I mean, like, but let's be honest. So our roles quite a bit changed, right? Like about a
Yeah,
year
yeah.
ago. Yeah, June
been
or
a
July.
lot.
I forget.
Mhm.
Rightly so. I mean, the job you're doing is
Oh no,
you're
it's-
phenomenal at it.
All the online stuff has
Yeah.
been.
Yeah.
If you guys don't
Yeah.
know, anything online that has grown and become awesome has been Kim. And
but that's the
Kim-
thing is it's a partnership.
Yeah, it's
Like,
been
we
cool.
work
It's been
together
really
to kind
cool.
of make that stuff happen. But it's been, I think it's been pretty inspiring to see just people respond to the online experience. And
Yeah.
I mean, I have just loved seeing, raising of hands and prayers and there was a few Sundays there where people were putting in their like short testimonies like, oh my gosh, this totally hits home with me, and they share a story of their life, and it's just like, man, that is just so cool.
That is
Like
cool.
this is a new world. I mean, it's a new world
Yeah.
that some of them are just stepping into it fully, and that's just exciting. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, one of your next question too was the like thinking into the future one. What excites you? What
Yeah.
concerns you?
Yeah.
What you just said. I mean, I think what mostly excites me is like a diverse expression of church.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see like what does it mean to be a church that can be online
Right.
and live indoor
Right.
and live outdoor
Right.
and not just on Sunday. I think
Yes.
all those things are really exciting to me to be.
Yeah.
I mean, I think for a long time church, I grew up in church. A long time church was like what you do on Sunday and then you have the rest of the week.
Right.
And you're just like either looking forward to the next Sunday or
Right.
like trying to hang on to what you got from the last Sunday. And the week is just sort of the time you get through.
Yes. Yes.
And I don't think that's good.
That's not healthy. No.
But yeah, I think like I'm excited to see the future of church where like church is all week
Yes.
and church isn't just a Sunday service that you go to. I think it's
Right.
part of that,
Right.
but church is like all of the things you're doing throughout the week with all of the people you're doing them with.
Yeah.
And I think for us, that means like, how do we change from just making a really great Sunday
Yes.
to how do we make sure that our whole week of church things
Right.
is serving people well
Right.
and inspiring them
Right.
and helping to train
Right.
helping to train them and helping
Right.
to create space for them.
Right.
Like practically, I mean, for us, this studio we're in, which is amazing.
So
Like we have dreams of this being a place where, anyone at North Point who's like a music person could say like, I want to reserve 2 hours to come and record a
Yeah.
song I wrote. Or,
So cool.
like I want to learn how to mix music, or I
Yeah.
want to come take photos. Like we want to be a
Right.
church where we can leverage what we have, what we've been
Right.
given,
Right.
and honestly, what we've created as a church
Yeah.
to like serve people and
Mm-hmm.
invite them into that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'm really excited about the diverse remoteness of church in the future.
Yeah.
In its expression and in its people. Like, I think that's one thing that online and even non-Sunday morning in a specific location does is it just opens it up to more people than just the people that live right here.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Oh, yeah. To see all the different states
Yeah. And
like populate in on a Sunday is like, it's pretty exciting to imagine. And, you know, a perfect example, you actually filled a position that Cameron was here before, and he's in Colorado. And I know, like, Amelia watches on
Tunes
Sundays.
in.
So it's funny to see Colorado show up for the most part.
Yeah.
No, it's probably them. But to still be able to do, to pour into each other.
yeah.
Because she's like extra I mean, her kids get to see the same faces they've grown up knowing and seeing, even though we live, you know, states away from each other. And I think that's
No, and
that's a
Cameron
really-
even getting text. I get texts from Cameron every so often of like, I've always wanted to do that there. I'm so glad you guys are getting to do it. So
Yeah.
it has been really cool
Yeah.
to like, and I totally recognize we're all standing on people's shoulders, whether it's
Oh.
Josh or Cameron
Oh,
or
yeah.
Amelia, you know,
Oh,
like
yeah.
all these
Oh,
people.
yeah.
We're standing on other people's shoulders. Steve Williams,
Oh
who like,
gosh, yeah,
so I feel way blessed to get
Yes.
to be at church at this specific time
Yeah.
in history.
yeah,
Yeah, and I think we're positioned to do something different
yeah,
if we're willing to risk that.
Yeah.
You know, if we're willing to say, let's not just go back. That's
Yes.
probably my biggest concern. I'm most excited about the diverseness.
yeah,
I feel like my biggest concern is that we don't just make our way back to what we used to do.
yeah.
And that it's kind of like, well, let's just
well,
do
and I have a
Sundays
feeling
and
it's a gravitational pull.
It is.
I have a feeling we're going to be battling that, and what I mean by either ourselves battling it or being in a room where others
Yep.
are at a different, you know, and so we might collectively start to find ourselves being pulled to this
Oh, yeah.
normal that we're used to because it's stable, because we know what to expect, because
And because of all the good memories, I mean, those
Yeah.
are things too,
Oh,
like
for
how
sure.
good it was. Like, why wouldn't you want to go back to a good thing?
Right.
And I think it's natural.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's healthy because
Yeah.
I think like nostalgia like that, nostalgia, whether it's nostalgia or it's just like, well, that's what we're good at, or like
Yeah.
that's what we know how to do well.
Right.
Any of those things, I just think keep you from the new thing that God's gonna do.
Yeah.
And sometimes the new thing is more of the same. Like it's not always,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
hey, let's completely change
Right, yeah.
everything. But I think a lot of times it is God is like,
Yeah.
hey, like there's this new opportunity, a new
Right.
thing that I want to do in your city or in your church
Right.
or
Right.
in your community of artists, you know,
Right.
whatever. And in order to do that, you do have to say yes to it
Mm-hmm.
and give up something.
Yep.
And so, I feel like
And even if that's something that
Yeah.
you're giving up is the stability you're used
Yeah.
to having.
it's
I
a
mean,
risk to, I mean, there really is no risk, no reward. Like you can't,
You have to risk something in order.
you will never safely try new things, I don't think. And
No.
if you do, they're not really that worth doing, probably.
Right.
Because it's too close to what you're already doing.
Yeah.
So I
But
think,
here is where I love the environment that we're in. And again, you kind of said this Sunday circle up before we get ready to start it. And you were just like, we don't even know kind of like how the day's going to turn out. We have plans for how things will go. And stuff might happen. And actually this last Sunday, we did have some stuff happen.
did happen, yeah.
But what I loved is like, it doesn't feel like you walk away from Sunday going like, that was a total failure. You know, like I love that it's actually just like, okay, we just need to learn from it. Okay.
Yeah.
Next time we'll do this or next time we'll do that. And so, like you said, I think that's part of the risk and reward. You know, we're trying things every Sunday. And because they're so different and because they're outside of what we're used to doing,
Yeah.
we're in a learning phase right now too. But it is exciting to see the church taking ground in places that
Oh, yeah.
I think we imagined this being like 5 years from now. And it's like been like 5 months from when we
Yep.
first started talking about
Oh, yeah.
things, you know, like
Totally.
exponentially closer and faster than we thought. Okay,
Yeah.
last question. This was kind of a big one. Did you see that?
The last
yeah.
one? Oh my gosh.
Okay, so what are you hoping like the collective church to be for your kids? So you said you grew up in church. You've got Zoe, you've got Oliver on the way. Like when
Yeah.
you think about their future and just kind of
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is I hope that it's integrated. I hope that church isn't just a thing you go to and then you leave from it, but that like church is something that you go with. So I hope my kids in the future like can get in a way that I can't even. Being at home with your family on a Thursday night, that can be church, and that like mowing your neighbor's lawn on Tuesday morning, that can be church, and that yeah, like going overseas to do something, that can also be church. And so can going on a Sunday to a really great musical teaching service. That's also church.
Yeah.
But I hope it's more than just like a thing I do that matters and is important, but then I leave it and then I come back to it in 7 days. I hope it is, I hope in ways it's that. And I do, like, something I've always wanted in church that's exciting to see happen here more is like art. I also really hope that church collectively is pushing boundaries and not hanging on to them from 5 years behind. I hope that church, like, I hope that our church and that the church is putting art out into the world that's like mattering. Not that it isn't, because I think it is, but I hope that happens more and more, and that when like my kids think about even like the organizational church, you know, North Point, I hope they think of that as like a springboard into life and not just like a safety net or a thing they go to make it more, but like a place that launches them.
Yeah.
That's kind of, I think those are my biggest hopes, that it's like,
that's great.
That we push boundaries.
It's interesting that you would say, just on an end note here, but it was interesting that you would say that push the boundaries when it comes to artistic and stuff and expressions. I was actually recently reading like, it was like a Q&A for like musicians, let's say that, you know, and I looked up contemporary, just Christian stuff. And it was like, people had questions on Google about like, why does like Christian like music why is it so not good? You know, or why is it so like, and it's
why does it
right, why does it not great? You know, like, shouldn't that be in you have to imagine these are likely people who are not believers, because they're like, why is it not? Shouldn't it be? And so to that I would just say, like, that is your call, like church, that this should be the place where you are pushing those boundaries, because you have the security of a Father that created you, and he wants those things to be on display, and he wants us to explore the creativity that he placed in each one of us, because he didn't go like, oh, I forgot that creativity in you. It just may be a unique value in you that looks a little different than what someone might consider to be artistic.
Oh, totally. Yeah, and I think that's what's cool right now is we're seeing those people all over North Point. Is like all these artists, these people that have that in them that always had been offering it, or maybe for the first time are now starting to realize, oh, I have something to give.
Right.
And I mean, I think that's a beautiful church to think of.
Yeah.
And it is happening.
Yeah.
I just want to see it happen more and more here.
Faster.
You know, I want to see that here, which I think, we totally are. I think God has, like you said, it takes me back to the beginning of this conversation. Like, if we're just fascinated and focused on like who God's making us to be, and that like he loves us, he's created us, he's made you creative. So now just like go be his kid and do that, rather than like, ooh, how do I make the perfect song? Or like, how do we make sure my art is great, or I can teach the best, or I understand everything? It's not that. It's how do I just like live in the thing that I know I am? Yeah. And that God is telling me I am. Yeah. So it's been really cool. Yeah. I'm really excited to see the future. I think it's a great, great future. You've done just a phenomenal job this last year. I can't wait to see what you can do in another year. It's been a blast to do it together. We're all doing it together. One big happy family. I've been loving it. Yeah. Living the dream. Living the dream, really as Ronnie would say. Yeah. Shout out to Ronnie. All right. Well, guys, stay connected with us throughout the week. And excited. Make sure that you listen. Apple, Spotify, all those places. Use Apple, not Spotify for podcasts. Oh, really? I'm an Apple podcast listen to Apple. Person. Yeah, I do too, as well. Good. All right, good. Approved. Stamp of approval. All right, go and make it a great rest of your week. Have a good one, guys. Bye. See you guys later.